Hello, this is Thursday's midday meditation. Last Tuesday, 2 days ago, Pastor West talked about one of the lectionary readings, which is the text from Corinthians. Another one of our lectionary readings is going to be from the Gospel of John, and I would like to offer a reflection on that text. So I'm going to be reading verses 13 through 16 from John 2nd. The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." Now this may be one of, if not my top favorite story in the Bible. This is the image of Jesus with which I identify the most, having grown up in a very corrupt and opportunistic society. The pastor at my previous church used to joke about how we Middle Easterns fight to feel alive, and we have to be loud. It's true that we're loud and expressive people, so that's one thing. But the other is that you grow up in my country and in neighboring countries, most of them, you grow up not trusting the government or the system. You learn that you're brought up with complete mistrust for leaders and laws in place, and rightly so, because a lot of them are corrupt. And so for me, the image of Jesus challenging the corrupt system really hits home. Now Jesus goes into the temple and disturbs the order that is going there, and that's just normal. That happens every day in the temple. The money changers and the people who sell animals. Now, historically speaking, if you're a first century Jewish pilgrim who are traveling many miles to get to Jerusalem and to the temple, it is much more practical to buy animals for sacrifice from the temple rather than to carry them all the way from home. And therefore, the sellers and the money changers who also the sellers who sold animals made sure that these animals are ritually adequate for sacrifice and offering. Like maybe you're bringing a sheep all the way from home, wherever that may be, and on the way sheep gets hurt, it's no longer appropriate to be offered to the temple. So all these rules, and even the money changers, they made sure the coinage is also adequate for offering. So these provided a necessary service for the functioning of the temple. So the selling of cattle itself may not be the core issue that is disturbing Jesus. But the temple has become a refuge for those leaders who were helping the Romans to oppress 95% of the Jewish population. So there you have this 5% of the leadership, like the high priest, the priest that high priest will assign, who agree to kind of play the game and play by the rules. The scribes, the elders, they all ensure that the privileges given to them by Rome, they stay with them by just obeying the rules and oppressing the poor Jews. So Jesus's act of disturbing the order of what was going on there is a direct criticism to and disruption to the temple's status quo. But at what price? the stakes were really high for Jesus, and especially as presented by the Gospel of John. This is one of Jesus' 4 visits to Jerusalem according to John. At the time, Passover was celebrated, and that remembers the exodus of the early Jews from Egypt. So it's a remembrance of liberation. And historically, it has become an occasion for riots and revolts, just remembering their liberation by God and living under oppression. I mean, it's normal that at this time of the year, the Jews will want to kind of to rebel against their reality. So for that same reason, Rome has always reinforced security around the temple around that time of the year, and also other holidays. And that reminds me of home, like we would be going to church on Easter or Christmas or like any big celebrations, and you'll find all kinds of armies and security guards walking with their weapons back and forth in front of the church. That's just normal to see. So if we visualize the scene of Jesus using a form of violence to drive those people away from the temple, drive the animals away, I don't think it's possible that was a huge scene, and Jesus and his disciple have taken control of the entire temple and or temple court, the outside of the temple, and held it for a long time, because that would have gotten the attention of the Roman soldiers. So I try to imagine that the disruption was brief enough for the Roman soldiers not to notice, and maybe in a limited area. And yeah, Jesus was taking a risk. His symbolic actions may have turned into a violent scene had one Roman soldier intervened. So if you remember, I told you last Sunday during my sermon that Jesus does not invite us for suffering, but to look beyond suffering as and see that suffering as a price that one may pay for wanting to set things straight, make things right. So the Gospel of John, this passage from John, dares us to look up to the way things should be, the ways of the kingdom, and to make things right. So the point here I'm trying to make is that Jesus does not avoid the conflict that was necessary to make things right. And this event does get him in trouble, in fact, with the Jerusalem authority. In his later visits, they'll remember that this is one of the things that symbolically was against the temple leaders, against them. So this is Jesus defiling the sanctity of the temple for them and disturbing the instituted order. And I've mentioned the order a couple of times now. The temple authorities cared more about keeping the order because for them that meant ensuring their good fortune, ensuring Rome is still happy with them. So that was the temple order. That was the seeming peace that was in the temple, but there was a lot going on in there, a lot of corruption. And you know, it's normal in like modern times. We do get accustomed to the way things are, and sometimes we're deceived to think that that is order. It becomes the order. Just like it was assumed that there was an order in the temple, until Jesus had to flip some tables and stir some to think about what the right order may look like. So the question here that I would like to leave us with is, what is more important? To maintain order or to make things right? Sometimes orders need to be questioned. And being in order and being right may not always agree. So what is important? to maintain order or to make things right? That's the question I would like to leave us until we all meet virtually on Sunday. Until then, I wish you a great rest of your week and thank you for listening.